What an absolutely incredible day. If ever there was a day which required the term patience pays, it was today. Today, we knew we were in for some range rotation. We had to be really careful. We knew the weekly model. We knew where the H1 demand was. So we had to be patient and wait for it to hit our targets. And once it did that, what an opportunity we got. So I'm going to take you over first into my chat room so you can see how quickly and early we were ready for the market, and then I will show you how the day panned out and how everyone in our room made a ton of money today. Let's get into it. So you will see right here, this is Pacific Coast time, okay? I live in California. So 30 minutes before the open, I made it very clear to my room that they must check the higher time frame before considering any trade. The model was still bullish, even with yesterday's sell candle, and there was good reason for this. I tell them, please note the H1. We are in a supply zone here on the H1, but right underneath us, okay, we had a big demand pocket right here and right here. So we had to be very aware of those demand pockets, because if we were going to fail the highs in these supply blocks, which we ended up doing, we were going to trade back into the demand pocket. And we also had news at 8:30, which means we left liquidity under the low of the news candle, which later on we would go and attack. So the first trade we talked about was the potential gap and go for extension up to retest the range, and the next one was the failure of the H1 supply to come all the way back down and rebalance this and test the H1 demand. So those were the two trades we were very aware of. Those were what I call a pro trend trade, where the lower time frame will eventually match the higher time frame. So the weekly is bullish, the daily is bullish, the H4 was bullish, and these would mean that H1 would be bullish. So we would wait for longs until everything aligned, and that would give us the best possible opportunity for those longs. So 1 hour into the day, I'm already drawing out the possible scenarios for the teams, marking out the supply, what is going on here, what we need to be really aware of. So the pullback was what we were looking for if we were going to stay long into this supply block, but we had to be very aware because ES had relative strength today. All day it had relative strength. So we had our eye on the Dixie and on the VIX, which was starting to want to move higher. And we had our eyes on the NQ. And why was that? Because Tesla was over 12% down today. Google was struggling. Apple started to sell off with news. And because the NQ is more heavily weighted with tech, it was getting hit far harder. So when NQ was ready for a long, we were going to be prepared on the ES. So as early as 10:43, I'm talking about this possible scenario for the failure and roll down. But I'm very, very clear here. If they're going to sell, they're going to use the liquidity that they built this morning. But I am not convinced until we get the change of character and break of structure. Now, there was good reason for that. I very much felt like they could come down here and trap and rotate back up, because as you will see here, we are still within the IB levels, right? So we have an inside candle on a daily candle, and in the print, we're also inside. So there's no reason to look for a trend play. We know the trend is upwards. We know that we are inside. We're going to have to let it build out the liquidity. So hopping over into the charts then, the first thing I want to draw your eyes to, this was the news candle, right? The 8:30 candle. You've always got to note that candle. It's very, very important. So we knew there was resting liquidity under here. All the buyers who were bidding this up were leaving their stops underneath. So that's the first thing I wanted to pay attention to. After that, what did we do? We were really just creating a range, okay? We are making a series of higher highs and higher lows, and there were some trades in here which we actually took, which I called out in the room. So the first one was right here. We create a nice W pattern, we base above, and then we are looking for that extension back into supply. Now, it did not quite make it, unfortunately, but we all locked in our profits, all right? We are not stupid. We know the market likes to rotate, and we also knew there was news at 9:45 and a new hourly candle coming at 10 o'clock, which, as always, and just like yesterday, became absolutely pivotal. So you will see that after this news candle, the 10 o'clock push, we had the IB high set at 10:30 and we failed, okay? We crucially failed to print above that IB high, which means only one thing: we are going to rotate down to the IB low, which is exactly what happened. We rotated all the way down to the IB low. So it is at this point we knew today was about creating liquidity. We had an inside day and we were inside the IB high and IB low. So there was no trend day available at this point. We held the IB low, we base above, there's a lower time frame change of character, and we drive up to the IB high. So at this point, we had marked out this level right here as supply. So this was a nice double top scenario if you got it for a failure back down to the IB low. When we're trading within range days, you need to be trading the edges. So this was a highly probable fade. I did not take it because I was waiting for the pro trend trade, okay? And I'm gonna show you where I took it and where members of my room really made money today. We had to wait. So we had this fade. This was our change of character. We print below the IB low. We create a trap here, a bull trap high. And some of the guys in the room faded this really nicely all the way down into the H1 level. Okay, this blue or green block is the H1 demand. So I was very interested in this. Now, at the time, I had this marked out right here as that news candle wick. But you will notice we did not take out that news candle wick. No, instead, what happened was we had relative strength and the NQ did take out that news candle wick. So I'll just quickly flick over here so you can see it. Zoom out and you will see that the NQ drove well beneath this news candle wick. Okay, so ES had relative strength. So if you were looking for longs today, the right long would have been on the SPY and the ES, not on tech. Tech was selling off. Like I've talked about, Tesla was 12.5% down. Apple came out with some news and was getting sold off. PayPal had a sell the news event. You know, tech was selling heavier, and the NQ is heavily weighted towards tech compared to the ES. So if you wanted longs, then the easier long was always going to be on ES. So here we go. Once NQ took that low, we marked out this smart money technique, okay? We knew there was a strong possibility of a reversal coming because NQ had stolen the liquidity and we were in a demand zone. So all we had to do was wait for the shift, and it came right here, okay? Very lower time frame shift right in here, and we left some imbalances, okay? So the first thing I did was mark this out right here, and I got long into this. Now I will show you the trade in a moment. I got long into this, and then I'm marking out the imbalances here, which we start to invert. Okay, we're inverting these imbalances, and we are now above this channel. Okay, this is the main channel that everyone is watching. So everyone is short against here, and once we break out, you know that that potential squeeze is on, and we're also into a new hourly candle here, and I cannot stress the importance of that. So the hourly candle is held demand and back inside. Now everyone was looking for this giant head and shoulder fade all the way down, and there is no way the market is going to give that to you when it's leaving all this resting liquidity. Okay, tons of resting liquidity there. So these were adds into the long, into the end of day for the pro trend. Okay, this was the first moment today where every trend lined up, where the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the 4 hour and the hour all wanted to move bullish. Okay, and when you get multi-time frame alignment like that, you get these power moves, okay, straight up as an absolute ripper, and we cleaned out almost all of the liquidity, and my room banked on that, and they banked big. So you can see right here, here was my long entry and I was targeting all the way up to supply. And there were a number of people in my room who did exactly that. David here, a brand new student of mine who's very new to trading, absolutely ripped this, caught the move here, sold the pops, added more, sold the pops, added more, and sold the extension. A perfect trade by understanding your playbook. When you have a playbook and you understand multi-time frame alignment, you are going to win far more times than you are going to lose. Daniel here also notifying the same thing. The hourly shift, once it held. Now everyone thinks that this is a lower high and that justifies getting short, but there is no change in structure here, okay? We are only short when a lower high is followed by a lower low, and there is not one here. So what you now have is a higher low into a higher high, a higher low, and this is an internal high, and we are now creating higher lows again, and there is a good chance tomorrow we will come up and try to take this out, and I am very confident that we will now take that out because there are lots of shorts trapped in here. And when we have an aggressive move away from supply like this, all buyers want to do is at least retest that. So we've got another 10-20 points to go, which is well within an ATR and capability to do tomorrow. And we all know Fridays love to run. There's also lots of news coming out tomorrow. So if you're prepared for that, there's a good chance we're going to come up and retest that supply, completing a cup, and then we can look for a cup and handle or break and retest or something like that for a continuation trade. That's going to be the most probable trade to look at for tomorrow. I just want to highlight one of my students here, Daniel. Now, I've traded with Daniel for a little while now, and he's really starting to connect. And today, he actually sized down, okay? He sized down, and instead of scalping, he let his winners work, and that meant he made $3,500 today. And there's still lots of room for Daniel to improve, but it just shows that when you understand the multi-time frames and you understand the right risk reward, you can really start digging in and making profits. So if you want to make profits like this, you need to be taking my course. The link is underneath right now for the Flow Zone course. Use the code YouTube. It will get you $200 off at the checkout. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Until then, trade safe, use hard stops, and good luck.